Hello, this is Dr. Ravi Chandra with the Pacific Heart Podcast and my YouTube channel. And the following is a presentation of my segments from a July 30th, 2020 Mindful Self-Compassion Teachers Forum on race and racism. And again, some of these are taken out of context because I'm just presenting my segments, and hopefully they will all make sense to you. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you, Steve, Chris, Catherine, Sydney, Carolina, and all the teachers gathered here today. It's Thursday, July 30th, 2020. We are about 8 months into the global COVID crisis, and about a little over 2 months after the great surfacing of racial trauma on May 25th. And I'm feeling a couple of different things. I'm feeling the split caused by the suffering in our nation, in our communities, and in our world. And I'm also feeling the great connection between all of us. So this connection I'll speak about first. The Koreans have a word for this. It's called Jeong, Jeong, and it's a sense that just as the mind is not separate from the body, so the self is not separate from other selves. And it also implies a deep sense of love between all beings. And this is not different from what many other cultures have experienced around the world. We have the wonderful San Francisco, whose name graces my hometown here in California. We have the poet John Donne, who said, "No man is an island, no man stands alone." And we have the great remix through the Jamaican reggae singer Dennis Brown. "No man is an island, no man stands alone. Keep each man as your brother, and remember each man's dream as your own." And I think this idea permeates all of our civilizations, from the indigenous and primal roots that are around the world to the wonderful ways that I think Asian communities and Latinx communities carry a familial and group and community-centered ego, and it's present in many ways in America's tradition as well, although we kind of grapple with this sense of self-reliance and individualism as well. So that's the deeper sense of connection, I think, that permeates all of us. But the split I experience is on many different levels. First, I think there's the split of moral distress, the split between what I know to be right and what is actually happening in the world. So that's a deep and painful split. There is the split between the inner life and what we can feel comfortable about saying, and what we avoid saying or what we dismiss saying. So there's another split. There's the split, of course, between us as racial and ethnic beings, are split along religious lines, on spiritual lines, splits along gender, sexual orientation, and other lines. So those are all the splits we carry and that we have to navigate, I think, with that concurrent sense of love and connection. I think for me, I try to navigate it with the skills of mindful self-compassion and compassion cultivation and other traditions from my own Buddhist spiritual tradition. And I kind of summarize it in this term that I borrow from the food world, umami. So umami is that fifth taste. After sweet, salty, bitter, and sour, there's umami. And umami brings tastiness and deliciousness to the food we eat. And I think friendliness, compassion, and love bring tastiness and deliciousness to our inner lives as well as our relatedness. So I hope that we can cultivate that spirit of umami within and without, with love, friendliness, and compassion. And I think that doesn't mean rushing out and making a black friend or an Indian friend or so forth. I mean, I think it's about, really cultivating your own sense of love and connection. And I'm being a little sarcastic. I mean, we all need friends, of course, but there's something, that happens that can be, kind of awkward. But I think cultivating that spirit of love and connection within ourselves by connecting, I think, a greater connection to Black identity and the beauty of the Black experience as well, and really holding that within us, I think, is so important. So that's where I'm at today. And so I think with that, I'll turn it over to Carolina. Thank you. Thank, thank you, Carolina. Do I have a moment? I think what comes up for me is all these difficult emotions that come up because we're concerned about relatedness. And I think that's so key. We want to do it right. We don't want to, you know, oppress anyone, certainly, or cause any difficulty. And we're trying to do it right. And we're all works in progress, and we all can make mistakes. I make mistakes. I mean, we do make mistakes, but to be more conscious, as Carolina said, of what you're saying, why you're asking, why you're connecting, and all of that. But also that sense of being a good person and cultivating our quality of goodness, I think, which is, I think, tied to our sense of compassion and our sense of, I think compassion is how we do human. And that's been our survival mode for 200,000 years. It's what's helped get us through. And if we can cultivate our sense of compassion and understanding, being related to suffering, not trying to avoid or dismiss suffering, but just really be in tune with it and use the skills to allow us to stay close to suffering in ourselves and suffering in others. I think that's so important. That cultivates our own sense of goodness, which is also a work in progress, individually and collectively. Thank you. Just a quick point, because I know I have a poem to read at the end, but I think we're all living in the shadow of power and abusive power. Empathic people, in particular, live in the shadow of abusive power, and I think we have to make sense of it and create our own identity as empathic people and compassionate people, and who struggle with power. And there's another word from Korean called han, a sense of shared collective suffering, a shared sense of oppression, and the kind of solidarity that comes from that. So it's a very complicated word, but it touches on what I think what we're developing now is an American Han, an Asian American Han, which I experience, and perhaps a global Han, a kind of collective suffering that we're all connected in ways that we don't always fully appreciate and understand, but we have to reckon with. And that kind of solidarity also comes with that connection, the connection through suffering and through our common humanity as vulnerable human beings, particularly vulnerable to power, some more vulnerable to others than others. So I think we have to be aware of that. Thank you, Sydney, and thanks everyone. This poem was written about a month after the George Floyd killing and murder. And it comes from a place of pain and disconnection and connection with my personal experience as an Asian American. And it's written as a block of text, and I'll read it. It's also based, the first words based on the saying, "No mud, no lotus" by Thich Nhat Hanh, "Without suffering, there is no enlightenment." So I'll read it now. And it's a lot of energy, so be prepared. No mud, no lotus, no mud, no lotus, no mud, no lotus, no, 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 mud, 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 death, death, death. Anguish, anger, agony. Defeated, deprived, blaming, blamed, fury, dead, race, race, racism. I am black, I am not black. I am Asian, I am not Asian enough. I love, is my loving enough? I've never been good enough. It seems the world is just hard and I am alone. I am alone. I am alone with my thoughts, alone with my wounds, the flames of my wounds licking, alone with remembering, remembering, remembering in the night. Rejection, snap, revenge, snap, murderous rage. I murder them all in my mind. Odysseus comes home to kill. I am always arriving home. Home, is this home? Is this mind home? In my mind, Penelope has not been true. I have not been true. Mud-filled fury, filled grief, sparks, flames, loss. I am a pillar of fire, not remembering any lovers, not remembering any who have loved me enough, who have loved me well enough, not remembering any lotus, just remembering those who didn't love, who told me they couldn't because of this brown skin, who didn't return kindness, who just moved on. I was not significant enough to care about. Mud. Why remember just this mud? I need repair. I need someone to know this mud I've carried that weighs me down. A woman, a woman. I want a woman to know. A lover, a lover. This is too specific an ask, too selfish an ask. Who has that? Who has a lover, a knower? Who has a Penelope anyway, waiting for them, true or untrue, or ready to be true? Murder is a specific loss of love. So I have been murdered, haven't I? I have been killed. I might as well finish the job. That's why the fire burns. I am seeking love from my murderers. This is the insanity of mud. My murderers have been murdered too. They are ghosts. I didn't see that. I didn't see the world murdering them. Thought my love was enough, but they were already dead, being murdered, lungs filled with mud. We are all drowning in mud and death and loss, and we can't breathe. I can't breathe. All the black dead, specifically unloved in the end, specifically murdered by specific lack of love. Am I mud for them? Have I been mud? Are all our names mud to them? The names we now love, all the names we now love, now mourn, all the names, have we been mud to them? All the names now dead, with just one specific ask, that quiet voice pleading, please love me, please love me, please love me, please. Please love me, mama, please love me, mama, mama, mama. Please love me into lotus, and all the ways we say no, 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 no. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Pacific Hearts podcast or watching the YouTube video. I dedicate the merit coming from this performance and talk to the benefit of all sentient beings and to relieving the suffering of all, and also to the transformation of the web of trauma which we're all embedded in, to transform that into a web of healing. And I wish you the best in that task on your individual journey, and to this task to cultivate mindfulness, compassion, relationship, and creativity. And you can find more about me at ravichandramd.com. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.